Hello and welcome. I'm Ellen Sutherland and we're being spiritual. It's kind of an exciting blog this week and hopefully next, because I'm going to be demonstrating and sharing about one of the tools that is very helpful in getting us out of some, extremely negative states, phobias, like we're afraid of heights and afraid of public speaking and scared of spiders or bugs or whatever, people. It gets rid of that. You can literally erase the extreme fear. And it's also a tool that is used for other emotions that we run up against when we're doing spiritual practice, for example. Generalized, vague anxiety that comes up, or fear that we're never going to make it, or we'll never get through this block, or whatever it happens to be. So it's kind of exciting, and I hope that it proves helpful. I found it extremely helpful. Right. So a little bit of history. Let's do this one as a history lesson. I've laid out the chakra system and shown you a little bit of what the mapping of the meridian energy points look like. And so what's happened is, there's a process called Do-In, which I'll share about later down the road, and acupuncture and acupressure and shiatsu. And all of those kind of deal with balancing out the meridian system, rubbing them, tapping them, pummeling them, whatever it happens to be, to release them so that they flow in their optimal manner and the way they're supposed to flow. So 10 or 15 years ago, I'm not sure how long, not very long ago, a psychologist was working with one of his clients, one of his patients, and she had an extreme fear of water. She was water phobic. And he was working with her for about a year with the similar results that we get from working with phobics, which is that not much change occurs. You do some desensitization, affirmations, all of that, and still the fear seems to persist. So this doctor was noticing that there she was coming in with the same look on her face, and so he asked her how she was today. And she said that she was really anxious because she knew that they were going to go to the pool and they were going to get her to stick her foot in the water, which always gave her a headache. That was like the most successful she'd managed to be, but she'd always get a headache after, so it was kind of negative. So he had been learning about acupuncture, which is the needles placed in certain areas on the meridian points that help balance the body, shift disease, all sorts of things. The Eastern medicine is a master at both mapping them and using these meridian points. So he was learning this, and he knew that the end of the stomach point was here, ran along this line. The stomach was here, and she was saying that she was anxious. He thought, well, maybe if you just manipulate this point, tap it a bit, these points here, because they're paired, mirrored on the body, it will ease up your tummy upset, and we can proceed with our work today. So he tapped away at these little points here, beginning points of the stomach meridian, and she said, I don't have any anxiety anymore, it's gone. So she stood up and went to go towards the swimming pool, at which point he became anxious because he knew she couldn't swim and realized that something had happened here. Well, what had happened is that this tapping therapy had been born, and it released here the blocked emotional energy that sat there from thinking about going into that pool, and she no longer had the fear of water. So that's called a 1-minute wonder. It rarely happens, but it's wonderful that it happened this time, because it so intrigued Dr. Callahan that he worked with all of his patients to find out what meridian points were causing their negative feelings, and maybe if they tap them a bit in a certain way, in a certain manner, they would be free of this emotion. And so tapping therapy was born. So after his experience with Mary, Dr. Callahan reportedly tried it on all his patients and developed all sorts of what he called protocols, different ways of tapping, different meridian points on the head, hands, body, which had all these long, elaborate formulas, and they worked, to release people from fear and guilt and all sorts of traumas. Wonderful. So then he started teaching people, and one of the people that he taught was Gary Craig, a Stanford engineer who looked at this formula of Callahan's and thought, maybe I could synthesize it or make it a little more convenient. Callahan's work involved muscle testing, and Gary Craig thought the muscle testing could be accurate sometimes and not others. And by the time you muscle tested the 14 sites to see whether that was the one that was blocked, you could have tapped them all. And so that's what he did. That was his long formula, and get into how that goes in the next video. But kind of interesting, because from then, Gary Craig just opened his heart, and he just spread this process to everyone. He made it very financially easy for us to learn it. He, many of his workshops, he videotaped and sold us the videotapes, allowing us to copy them 100 times without any penalty, and had a huge website set up where all of us could send in our experiences with EFT and our queries and our understandings, and plus a free download of how to do it. It was an amazing time of learning, and it spread like wildfire. And so tapping therapy has become pretty common now. And one of the things that makes me happy is that it's not being kind of kept from the public, because it's a very simple thing to do. Very, very simple thing to do. And most of us can release ourselves from really quite intense and horrible traumas that we live with, think we have to live with the rest of our life, or have to pay thousands of dollars to free ourselves from. And even then, it's not guaranteed that it would work. And this stuff works. Peace to you.